Right. So as far as the business analysis role is concerned, as we know, like we need to have knowledge over the business analysis, right? So understanding the requirements, providing solutions. So for that, there are a couple of roles as a BA, right? So one is about the functional BA roles or domain roles, where you need to have some domain skills or functional knowledge, something like healthcare, investment banking, payments, capital markets, retailing, supply chain, logistics, all that. Second, technical BA. Technical BA, nothing but having some technical knowledge over something relating to API programming as part of integration process, knowing about some XML and web services, having some knowledge over SQL, Power BI. This is all about the technical BA roles. Now and then, even organizations are looking some business analyst who should be having some idea over the agile part, because agile process, agile understanding is essentially important. That is one thing apart from the BA skill sets, because as a business analyst, whatever the skill sets that are required, that remains instant and that remains constant, that won't change. So apart from the business analyst role, we should have some knowledge over agile, because agile methodologies and principles is something that we must be knowledgeable with. This is what generally the program structure is all about. So first of all, we must be knowing about what are the agile principles and value systems we have. Okay? Principles and manifesto and principles that we must be good with, because agile is a process methodology frame. That's what generally we must be knowing, irrespective of the kind of framework or something that we are using. We should be knowing about the agile principles and manifesto, point number one. Second, we must be knowing about Scrum. Normally, Scrum will be considered as a framework. Scrum is not a process. Okay, Scrum is a framework generally we use whenever we are working on the agile environment. If it was not Scrum, people can use Kanban, people can use Lean, DSDM, right? So we have many other frameworks and processes which are involved. But apart from agile principles and value systems that was mentioned over here, it's important for us to understand, and it is important for us to know about the Scrum framework also, right? So what are the Scrum framework is all about, right? So at the same time, we must be knowing about what are the different roles we have. Either it can be a product owner role, it can be a Scrum team role, it can be a Scrum master. This is all something from a business analyst perspective. When you want to be when we are applying for agile related stuff, this is what something you must be good with. One is about the Scrum roles, as I told you. Product owners who define the goal and vision of the product. Scrum team who will be part of development. Scrum master who facilitates the Scrum team. This is all part of Scrum roles, all that. This is point number three. After that, we must be knowing about the Scrum ceremonies. Because when we are working on Agile Scrum environment, because this is all something based on the timelines. Some X amount of time will be given, either it can be 1 or 2 weeks of time. Within 1 week, 2 weeks, we have to complete the particular sprint. There are jargons and terminologies, in couple of jargons and terminologies in Agile, which is called Epic, which is called user story, which is called product backlog, right? So there were many things that we must be good with. Apart from that, we must be knowing about the Scrum ceremonies. Either it can be sprint planning, either it can be daily Scrum, it can be sprint review, retrospection, as in when we'll be part of the team, wherein we are guiding people to work on the projects and all, we must write some epics and user stories. That's important. Because normally in regular way of understanding as a BA when we are working on, so we normally create some documents, we prepare some business requirements, use cases, some UML diagrams. That's what something which we are knowledgeable with, and this is what something that we do. But when it comes to the agile environment, from the agile perspective, business analyst agile perspective, especially from the Scrum perspective and all, there are different Scrum ceremonies we have. Okay, that's something that we must be knowing. So that instead of documents, what we do when there is any kind of sprint planning, you have to do. First of all, you need to complete some epics and user stories prior. So when you have completed epics and user stories, so that it will be easy for a technical team to understand what business value it has, what complexity, what uncertainty, what risk that is involved. Based on that, they can move further. That's where generally knowing about the Scrum ceremony is important here. At the same time, it's not only about the Scrum ceremonies and all. We must be knowing about knowledgeable about the Scrum, overall understanding about the Scrum, which is called advanced level Scrum. Some basics of Scrum, basics about Scrum, uh, advanced level, I can say. More or less, I can tell you about scaled basics, because I don't say and I don't advise you to have some knowledge over the overall understanding, because some scaled agile understanding is important, because it's not managing with one team. We may require to manage with multiple teams in real environment. So some Scrum advanced, something like scaled agile kind of, right? So that is something that we must be knowing. Next, about the Scrum artifacts. There are different artifacts we have in Scrum that we must be good with. So these are the areas, if you are transforming your career as a business analyst in the agile environment, we must be knowing about the principles and manifesto. We must be knowing about the Scrum framework and how is it different from agile, etc. We must be knowing about the roles of the Scrum, whether it can be PO, Scrum Master, Scrum Team, etc. We must be knowing about the Scrum ceremonies. It can be sprint planning, daily Scrum review, retrospections, etc. We must be having some knowledge over, which is optional, I can say. Scaled agile is an optional thing, because depends on the requirement to requirement, that may vary. Because I don't advise people to go for scaled agile unless until we are not strong in agile environment. I don't advise even. That's the reason why whoever has completed agile, whoever has a complete understanding or agile Scrum, then scaled agile is a separate training. Okay, that will be conducted as separate. Hence, I can mention it as optional. Followed by this, we must be knowing about the Scrum artifacts, all these. So these are something required. So wherein we have to write some epics and user stories, right? So you need to maintain the product backlog. This is all something will be part of all these. This is what actually the BA business analyst from Agile side. Now and then, if you want to transform your careers towards this, this is something that you will be learning.